Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am so glad that you have joined us this morning. Welcome to those of you in the room, and welcome to those of you joining us via our live stream. Before we begin our worship service, I have just a few announcements to share. First, we thank you for keeping your masks on and your masks up. We know it's hot. We appreciate you making that sacrifice for the health of the greater community. Thank you to everyone who came to Racial Justice Provincetown's meet and greet with the town's new Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. That was a fabulous event last week. And there was also a record turnout at Great Music at 5 last week. If you're considering coming to the concert tonight, you should know that it will be held downstairs in the air conditioning. The theme is Songs from the Road, from west to east on the Silk Routes and beyond. And it will feature flute, piano, woodwinds, and cello in the air conditioning. Most of you know we started our Little Free Pantry as a pandemic project, and that's something we've kept going. And I just want you to know that that pantry is being so heavily used. You know that food prices are astronomical right now, and gas prices, and so many other things. And our community is really relying on that resource. So if you could help us, our cupboards are basically bare right now. So donations of tuna fish in packets, peanut butter and jelly, crackers, pasta, anything like that. No cans right now because it's too hot to keep them out there, and no glass. And if you can't bring boxes of food by, we would love you to write a check. If you just write a check to UUMH with Little Free Pantry in the memo, we will go out and get some things ourselves so that we can make sure that that is a resource for our community. Thank you so much. It's really a very meaningful ministry. You might have noticed that we are having a few technical problems here at the Meetinghouse this week. Our folk list emails are not getting through to Gmail users again. We are working on that. But if you don't receive the coffee hour link for Tuesday, you can use an old email. It's the same link every week, or you can contact the office. While we are working on fixing that issue, our folk list, that's our email listserv, will be down for a day. So please do not email the folk list tomorrow, Monday. We are also rolling out our magnificent new website, thanks to our office administrator, Kenneth. Yay. Some of you have caught glimpses of it. Right now we are in a sort of limbo between our old website and our new site, so stay tuned, and apologies for any gaps in its availability. And it looks like a beautiful day today, so I invite those of you who are attending in person to join us on the lawn for our coffee hour after the service. Our coffee has been transformed into lemonade today, so that will be lovely. And of course, everyone is invited to attend our Zoom coffee hour later in the week on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So let's now continue by affirming our community's covenant, and I invite you to repeat each line after me. Love is the spirit of this meeting house. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. At this time, I invite Kathleen to light our chalice for us. As we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you who are watching at home to light a candle wherever you are. In that way, we can feel connected even while we are apart.
Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred space. Be not tentative. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your kindness and your compassion. Bring also your sorrow, your pain. Bring your brokenness and your disappointments. Spirit of love and mystery, help us to recognize the spark of the divine that resides within each one of us. May we know the joy of wholeness. May we know the joy of being together.
Thank you. Please join me now in a spirit of meditation and prayer. If you have a joy or a sorrow on your heart this morning, you're welcome to light a silent candle during the prayer or any time during the service at the table to the right of the pulpit. And there is a journal there to record your thoughts and prayers. Our words this morning are by Mary Oliver. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
First reading. There is a Buddhist teaching story that goes like this. A senior monk and a junior monk were traveling together by foot. At one point, they came to a river with a strong current. As the monks were preparing to cross the river, they saw a very young and beautiful woman attempting to cross. Overwhelmed by the current, The young woman asked if they could help her. Without hesitating, the senior monk picked the woman up, balanced her over his shoulders, forded the river, letting her down gently on the other bank. The junior monk looked on in shock and said nothing. When all three were across, the monks continued on their journey, the younger one still mulling over what had happened. After several hours of silence, the senior monk finally said to his companion, "Is something the matter? You seem very upset." The junior monk replied, "As monks, we are not permitted to touch a woman. How could you carry that woman on your shoulders like that?" The senior monk replied, "I put that woman down a long time ago at the bank. You, however, seem to be carrying her still."
Now is the time in our service where we take a collection for the ongoing support of this meeting house and our shared ministry. As we enjoy a musical reflection, we welcome your donations here in the sanctuary or online through PayPal or Venmo. You can find that information on our website, uumh.org. On and off-site, your offerings will now be gratefully received.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation.
My friend knew his roommate would be devastated. The vase was irreplaceable. Vase to hold the lilies. It wouldn't have worked out the same way if the roommate had smashed the vase in anger, David notes. The ending would have been different if my friend had avoided revealing a painful truth. But several things serendipitously came together. The choice of the flowers, the selection of the vase, the placement on the mantle, the warmth of the furnace, the readiness of the roommate to reconsider the life choices he had made. The disaster was really a blessing. From an unwanted event came an invitation to freedom. It doesn't always work that way, but this story is a reminder that it's possible, David says. It's possible for disappointment to open doors we had been afraid to enter. It's possible that the past won't let us live in the present. It's possible that everything makes its own sense, even when that sense is not immediately clear to us. Let today be the day you learn the grace of letting go and the power of moving on. Sounds so much easier than it turns out to be, doesn't it? Let go, move on. So many of our religious traditions teach us this. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a Unitarian minister and leader of the Transcendentalist movement. He said, "Write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. He is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could." Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in, Emerson says. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on yesterdays. This day is too dear to waste a moment on the yesterdays. Let today be the day you learn the grace of letting go and the power of moving on. Buddhism also calls us to let go, to stop clinging, to move on. I love that Buddhist teaching story that Kathleen shared as our opening reading. I put that woman down a long time ago at the bank. You, however, seem to be carrying her still. I wonder, what metaphorical woman have you been carrying this week? a resentment, a regret, a grudge, a mistake, a conversation from yesterday, a choice you made long ago, a shame, a loss. What metaphorical woman have you been carrying this week? Maybe you've been carrying her for longer than that. Is she getting heavy? What would happen if you put her down? Let go, Lois Van Leer writes. Let go of all that binds you, of all that burdens you, of what you carry, of all that shames you, of fear, of trespasses and transgressions, of woundedness. Let go of guilt. Let go of anger. Let go of small-mindedness and pettiness, of ways of being that no longer work for you, of compulsions that consume your living. Let go of what you cannot change. Let go of regret, of that which haunts you. Let go of pain. Let go of ways in which you missed the mark. Let go. Meditation teacher John Kabat-Zinn says, "It's so annoying when people advise you to just let it go. When people say let it go," he says, what they really mean is get over it. And that's not a very helpful thing to say. It's not a matter of letting go. You would if you could. Instead of let it go, John says, we should probably say, let it be. This recognizes that the mind won't let go, and the problem may not go away. And it allows you to form a healthier relationship with what's bothering you. Mindfulness can help with that, he says. It's kind of the Buddhist answer to everything, isn't it? Paying attention without judgment to whatever is happening in the present moment. You can do this by thinking of your mind as an ocean, John says. Just as waves are affected by the weather, our emotions can be blown around by the winds of change and circumstance. And our troubled thoughts can create turbulence in our minds. But if you went below the surface of the ocean, you would find calmer, gentler undulations. You can achieve the same thing with your mind, he says. When you begin to feel anxious, take a moment to feel the breath in your body, preferably breathing down in your belly. Imagine your thoughts as waves. See them rise, linger, and pass. Keep breathing deeply and slowly, and keep watching your thoughts. You'll be able to live in the moment, even when it's difficult and scary, with greater calmness and balance. That is letting things be. I wish I were like the trees, Peter Fredericks writes, who let their leaves go gracefully without regret, or the tumbling stream that flushes silt to sea, exchanging murkiness for blessed clarity, or the dandelion who bows its head to the subtle breeze, unleashing its future without fear or loss. Instead, I drive white-knuckled, defensive as we were taught, tense and guarded for what may come my way. I keep a death grip on my life. If you asked me for my dying wish, it would not be for 10 more wishes. It would be to let go of wishing anymore. wishing I'd made different choices and that I hadn't hurt you as I did, and to forgo these old and dusty grudges that I keep like pictures in a shoebox beside my bed. I long to embrace my life with a lover's touch, or as you would an injured wren, precious, tender, and true. Instead, regret and fear, twin anchors, hold me fast, close in against the shore. Cast off, I hear them call from the open, exotic lands my heart yearns for. But the waters in between my here and theirs hold unknown hazards, unlike this dark, familiar port. This day a prayer to ease my grip on what once was, or what is meant to be, that I may find myself content to drift and float upon life's boundless sea. We get anchored by so much that would be better if let go, if let be. Anger, disappointment, embarrassment, even grief. That one's hard to talk about because it might sound like I am rushing people through a grieving process which can't be rushed through, like I am asking you to forget loved ones or give up struggles against injustice. But that's not it. I'm talking about the release that comes when you cease to hold something so tightly that it suffocates you. I'm talking about rolling up the carpets bought by your ex-lover, which you have been protecting from your own shoes for too many years. I'm talking about moving on because staying where you are is painful. Maybe you were watching Dan Harris on air with Diane Sawyer when he lost it on national television. Started it out fine. "Good morning, Charlie and Diane, thank you," he said in his best morning anchor voice, chipper yet authoritative. But then, right in the middle of the second voiceover, it hit. Out of nowhere, he said, "I felt like I was being stabbed in the brain with raw animal fear. A paralytic wave of panic rolled up through my shoulders, over the top of my head, and then melted down the front of my face. The universe was collapsing in on me. My heart started to gallop. My mouth dried up. My palms oozed sweat." He was having a panic attack. "My mind was in outright rebellion," he remembers. "My lungs seized up in what pulmonary doctors call air hunger. I could see the words scrolling up in front of me on the teleprompter. I just couldn't get myself to say them. Every time I stumbled, the prompter would slow down. I could picture the woman who operated the machine," Dan says, "tucked away in a corner of the studio. And I knew she must be wondering what the heck was going on. For a nanosecond, amid my inner hurricane of thoughts, I really cared what she, in particular, was thinking." Harris tried to soldier on, but it wasn't working. The words he was speaking no longer made sense. Did I mention that 5 million people were watching? So at the end of the voiceover, he cut the newscast short, several full minutes before he was supposed to be done, barely managing to squeak out, "That does it for the news. We're going to go back now to Robin and Charlie." Of course, he meant to say Dianne and Charlie. After that brief on-air meltdown, which felt like an eternity, Harris was left to get his racing heart back under control, his career back on track, as colleagues and executives lost confidence in him. Harris's panic attack was related to the pressure of the newsroom, to post-traumatic stress disorder from coverage of war zones, and to his self-medication with alcohol and cocaine. He had messed up on live television, and mistakes can be like quicksand. They can swallow you up if you stay with them too long. This was the risk for Dan Harris. If he focused too long on his TV embarrassment, if he couldn't move past it, it was going to ruin his career. If he didn't get sober, it was going to ruin his life. We talk a lot in Unitarian Universalism about being on a spiritual journey. Well, a fundamental element of being on a spiritual journey, on any journey, is movement. As we journey toward being our best selves, we are called to move beyond our mistakes and failures, not to set up camp in them. I think this is where many of us get hung up. We want to get back to feeling good about ourselves. And when there is no apparent resolution of a messy situation, when we haven't been able to talk ourselves out of it or successfully gain forgiveness or erase what happened, we have trouble moving on. We perpetually live in yesterday instead of today. It was an unlikely turn of events that gave the skeptical and cynical news anchor Dan Harris the tools he needed to get past his on-air meltdown. Assigned the undesirable religion beat for ABC, Harris was forced to go on the road to interview televangelists, youth group leaders, ardent atheists, and inspired yogis as part of a Religion in America series. At first on assignment only, but then out of a real sense of seeking himself, Harris delved into a world of spiritual gurus, religious superstars, and a growing stack of self-help books, which eventually led him to meditation. He chronicles his story in his book, 10% Happier: How I Tamed the Voice in My Head, Reduced Stress Without Losing My Edge, and Found Self-Help That Actually Works. A true story. Harris speaks of self-help instead of spirituality, but that's fine. It takes a while for a cynic to warm up to churchy language. But meditation became a saving grace for him. Each meditation session offered practice in forgiveness and moving on. As each thought reared its head, Harris had the choice of staying with it or moving past it. At first, he couldn't stay with the breath for more than 4 counts. I knew I was supposed to just forgive myself, he writes, but I found that to be extremely difficult. Every time I got lost in thought, I went into this mini shame spiral. My wanderings were so banal. Is this what I was really thinking about all the time? Lunch? Whether I needed a haircut? My unresolved anger at the Academy for awarding the Best Picture to Dances with Wolves instead of Goodfellas? But eventually, he got the hang of it. He allowed his thoughts to arise and then let them go. His sits became longer and longer as he worked them into a daily practice. Pretty quickly, my efforts began to bear fruit off the cushion, he says in his book. I started to be able to use the breath to jolt myself back to the present moment, in airport security lines, waiting for elevators, you name it. And I was much better at forgiving myself out in the real world than while actually meditating. Every moment was an opportunity for a do-over. 1,000,000 mulligans. At times, moving on is about apologizing. At times, it's about making it up to someone. At times, it's about forgiveness. And sometimes it's just about not making that mistake or embarrassment what defines the rest of your life. Sometimes it means moving on in order to pledge your life to something other than guilt and shame and blame, to something that is more life-giving. Let go of all that binds you, of all that burdens you, of what you carry, of all that shames you, of fear, of trespasses and transgressions, of woundedness. Let go of guilt. Let go of anger. Let go of small-mindedness and pettiness, of ways of being that no longer work for you, of compulsions that consume your living. Let go of what you cannot change. Let go of regret, of that which haunts you. Let go of pain. Let go of ways in which you missed the mark. Let go. Let be. Remember that life offers us 1,000,000 mulligans. Remember that this day is too dear to waste a moment on the yesterdays. Let today be the day you learn the grace of letting go and the power of moving on. Amen, and blessed be. It has become our practice to pose a question based on the theme of the service each week. It can be a topic of sharing on the lawn today or with friends during the week. If you want to delve deeper into this conversation, we invite you to join us on Tuesday at 5 at our Zoom coffee hour. I'm going to offer you 2 questions for this week. You can decide which one you want to share your answer to. First one is, what metaphorical woman are you still carrying? The second one is, what helps you to move on and let go? What metaphorical woman are you still carrying? What helps you to move on and let go? I'll end with these closing words. May you leave this place with your hands open to release your grasp on yesterday, with arms open to embrace the gifts of today, and hearts open to be tender with yourselves and those you encounter this day. Go in peace. Amen.